Hello and welcome to Millennial Musings. I'm Gladys.
And I'm Isabella. And we are just two opinionated millennials who sometimes make some dumb mistakes. And what we want to do here is to share our experiences and offer the advice we wish we had received.
Let's start with a disclaimer. We are not therapists or life coaches, and we have no actual criteria to be giving advice whatsoever. But we could be your new bestie or your big sister. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready for some millennial musings.
We focus on different topics and try to answer 3 to 4 questions within these topics, each question being one episode. Last week's and this week's topic will be moving abroad. This week's episode question will be, does moving abroad ruin your friendships? And yeah, let's just get right to it. So Gladys, would you like to start?
Yes, of course.
Should we maybe start with talking about, like, before we actually answering the question, do you want to maybe tell us what a friend means to you, how you would define a friendship?
So I think of a friendship as a relationship where you're both actively trying to be in each other's lives. So I don't think of people as friends easily at all. It takes me a very long time to consider someone a friend. I also think, and I'm very passionate about this, and the people who know me will know this, I think we should normalize referring to people as colleagues or acquaintances or a friend of a friend. I think that I think someone that you've met twice or that you've had drinks with twice, or a friend who is a friend of your friend is not your friend. Yeah.
I agree. I actually think there are a lot of people out there, and I don't mean this with any judgment, but let's say you see someone only at work, or you're in a sports team and you only see them Tuesdays when you go play volleyball, and like that's the only time you see them. I wouldn't say those are my friends, those are my colleagues or teammates, because the only thing we have in common is that one thing we always see each other, and that's it.
Yes, or when you have a friend in common, and then maybe sometimes you do see each other quite frequently, but then I feel like if there's no without that mutual friend, there's no relationship between me and that other person. Like I would never reach out to them. I would never suggest going for a drink with just them. Then why refer to that person as your friend? Then that's somebody you know. So yeah, I would say for me, the idea of friendship is quite serious, and I think the older I get as well, the more I value friendships. What about you? What does friendship mean to you?
Like you, I would say a friend means a lot to me, and like I already mentioned, I can't call just anyone a friend. Some people are just work colleagues, for example. And I also don't really have a massive group of friends. Like I have a close group of really close friends. And for me, a good friend is not necessarily someone I speak to on a daily basis. It's more like the fact that no matter how long we go without talking or seeing each other, that when we do, everything just feels normal and like we have spoken yesterday. Maybe not when it comes to what I know about their lives, but just the feeling, like there's no icebreaker needed or anything. The comfort just is still there. And I actually have a really cheesy quote. I got sent a reel by a friend on Instagram, and there's a woman, and I mean, this woman relates this quote on dating, but I think it also can be used on meeting new people. And I'm just going to read this to you now. So it says, let me take a breath of air. It says, some friendships you have with other women, I think it doesn't have to be women, are so rich and profound and intimate that it makes being in relationships with men even harder, because the standard the women have set in my life, the way they celebrate and see me, is hard to match. And like I said, I'm not really talking about dating here. I just think my friends have set a high standard, so it's quite, and the connections we have it's just hard to find with people, and it might also just be me not really giving people the chance to get to know me on that level. But that might just be because I'm content with what I have. I don't know. But yeah, I just thought the
Ooh.
quote sums it up pretty nicely.
That's very interesting, this quote, because this also reminds me of something that I've kind of been thinking about these past couple of years as well. Is, I used to be the kind of person who was like, oh, I just get along better with men. Like, most of my friends are men. Well, they were gay men, but still men. And I was always the kind of person who was like, yeah, me and women, I'm just not that kind of person who it just doesn't really work, and the dynamic in like female friend groups is just not great, and there's always jealousy and everything. It's like, I could not feel more differently right now because now, I mean, my best friend in the whole world is a woman, and now I feel like, if you feel that way, and I feel like many women do feel that way to some degree, and it's like, you're missing out. There is nothing more pure and incredible than relationships between women.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I feel like, well, I also feel like the connection I have with my friends is so close because we've been most of my friends and I, except maybe a handful, I've known since school. So we've been friends for like, I don't know, 14, 15 years now. And it just worked. Like, I don't know. And obviously that's a different kind of connection than someone you meet and get along later on in life. Like if I would meet someone tomorrow. But, well, I guess it can still happen if you really click. I don't know. I just think it's something special, and I wouldn't just call anyone my friend. I guess that's my definition.
Definitely, yes. But do you not also think one of the things that I find very interesting is that, ooh, I dropped my pen, sorry. Even if you have different people who you may consider each person one of your best friends, the relationship might still be really different, or the way or the frequency of like you guys being in touch of or whatever. Me and my best friend, we actually became closer than ever after I moved because we started sending each other voice notes all day, every day, and we just tell each other everything. Like, I'll go to Sainsbury's and send her a voice note that's like, oh my god, you won't believe how expensive cat food costs. And we will just tell each other everything, the most ridiculous details we will tell each other. And then I also have one of my best friends, Jonas, who sometimes we don't talk for weeks. And then all of a sudden he will call me and we'll be on the phone for 4 hours, and then it will feel completely normal. But it's just strange how with some people you have that relationship where you just talk almost every day or almost every week. And then if you wouldn't hear from them for a couple of days, then you would find that odd. And then there's friends who, I don't know, that's just normal. But I feel like, I don't know, still one of the things that I find because what you said about how then when you don't speak to somebody for a longer period of time and then it feels like no time has passed. I feel that way sometimes, but then I also kind of, and especially now after having like moved abroad and everything, do you not think that sometimes there's also this thing of like, if you only catch up every couple of months, after a while it kind of becomes this thing of like, you're just not really in each other's lives anymore? That's something that I have found, or that I sometimes kind of struggle with.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think you're just in their lives in a different way. Like, I have most of my friends and I, we have like a group chat where we maybe send some funny videos every now and again, or like if some bigger update happens, it goes in there, or if we plan a time where we could meet again. But sometimes I just don't talk to them for quite a while, actually, or I forget to reply to a voice note. I'm actually quite bad with that, but I'm getting into that later. And And I don't know. I don't feel like they're not in my lives anymore. I just know that they have a lot going on and that I have a lot going on, and I just sometimes simply don't have the energy to send a message, as bad as this sounds, but I feel it can be quite exhausting and actually quite anxiety driving if you feel like I haven't texted in so long, oh my god. But then at some point I just got used to it. I was more into texting everyone at the beginning, I think, but now I don't know. I feel like it just the kind of the trust is there that even if we don't talk for a month, it will be fine, and we're not doing it because we're not interested. It's just like there's a lot going on. Everyone's quite busy.
Yeah. No, that's true. I definitely agree with that. I would say one of the biggest challenges for me was, and I kind of mentioned this in last week's episode as well, is that when you move abroad, you kind of start a new life somewhere else. But then, and especially when you move abroad completely by yourself, in many ways, your life is still in your home country, or the country you moved from. In my case, Belgium. So my family and friends and my best friends are still in Belgium. And now, of course, I've almost been here 4 years. So now I definitely have, I've made really, really close friendships. I have a boyfriend. I kind of have a life here now. I have cats and everything. I have a nice life here, but still many of my best friends still live in Belgium. And of course, as I'm building my life here, their life also continues over there without me. And so then that means that, for example, when we meet up, when they visit me, when I visit them, sometimes it can be a reminder of how you're not part of their lives anymore to the same extent, to the same on the same level that you used to be, especially with friend groups, I think. And I have, most of my friends are like one-on-one relationships, but then I do have some friends where it's a couple of people who also know each other, and that I find the most tricky when you go back, or when you talk to them and you notice that they have all been meeting up frequently, and they have all these inside jokes, and they already know everything about each other, and then it's kind of like, oh yeah, we haven't told you this, and then you're the last person to find out, and that's 100% normal. And I know that I would be the exact same way if I was the person who was still in Belgium and one of my friends moved abroad. That's just how it happens, because when something happens and when you need to talk to someone, you will just talk to the people who are physically there. That's normal. But yeah, it's this thing where, and this is the kind of thing that I try to remember, this is that you both have very different perspectives, and it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to understand each other, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely have the same. When the first thing I had to get used to after moving is the FOMO. I was constantly, well, like you said, like you, I have a few friendships which are just like individual friendships, like one on one. But then I have one particular friend group, and when those three were meeting up, I kind of obviously knew it, and it was like really stressing me out that I'm not there and I'm now gonna miss out on all that stuff. But yeah, I'm used to it now, obviously, and also everyone is quite busy. I don't even know how often they meet up now without me, as a whole group, because everyone's just so busy. So it kind of also happened now that we actively have to try time for all four of us to get together, not just me visiting them, but actually that everyone has time. But yeah, the FOMO was definitely a big challenge. It did help though that usually they let me know that they wish I was there and that they miss me, so that calmed me down as well. And that's just something I have in the back of my mind now, even if they don't feel like that anymore. I don't know, but
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that they did that. Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. And also what you said earlier about kind of having to like about the replying to messages and everything, and that kind of stressing you out. That's also one of the things that I have kind of made peace with, is
Yeah.
that like you cannot, or maybe you can, but then please tell me how you do this, but you can't have, I don't know, 10 or more close friendships and give all of them the attention they deserve.
Yeah.
That's just simply not possible. Especially if, like me, for example, you're the kind of person who needs a lot of time by themselves, or a lot of time
To
where
recharge.
I need a lot of time to recharge, and that means not really engaging with anyone.
Yeah.
So I think even if I would call a different friend every day, then I would probably just have to do that for weeks, and then I would have called every, well, I mean, this makes me sound like I'm so popular. But no, it's like every single day I see someone, or I see someone's Instagram story, or I see, or I think about somebody, and I'm like, oh my god, we haven't spoken in weeks, and I really want to reach out to them, and then, but you simply can't, you can't do that with every
Yeah.
person. And that's also why I also think it's important to really think about what friendships mean to you, and to also actively decide, okay, if this is somebody that you want to be that you want to have a very close friendship with,
Yeah.
then at the end of the day, and I do still feel this way, it still means that you need to put in some work, and both parties need to actively show that they care. And I think that's the most important thing. Like I said, with me and my friend Jonas, it's very normal for us to not talk for a month. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like the most important thing is then still feeling like you're both trying, because he will all of a sudden maybe call me and be like, hey, I was thinking maybe I could come over for a couple of days. Is that okay? And then he'll just do it and take that initiative. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important. Whereas if I think if you don't feel that way, that's where it can get a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any other challenges you would like to mention? Because I think everything I have noted down, we kind of went through. I mean, you already mentioned that, just that you don't always know what's going on in their lives. Like small or big events that happen in their lives, you might just be the last one finding out. And that's also just something I had to find my peace with, but that's all right. It gives you actually more to talk when you then meet.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, and this is something that one of my friends said when he was here a couple of months ago, and when he did visit me, he said, and that's something that I want to get into after this, but he mentioned that, like, when we spend time together, because we are physically not often together, then you do actively choose to be together and to spend that time together.
Yeah.
So then you're both very much in the moment, I think.
Yeah, I actually wrote down some positive impacts that the long distance can have on a friendship. And one thing that I wrote down was, because a long distance friendship needs that extra effort to be put in, you just feel so much more appreciated by your friends, because you know what you have to put in for this to work. So you know what they are putting in for this to work. So you just see how much they actually want you to be in their lives as well. So that's quite of a nice romantic kind of part of the long distance friendship, I would say.
It is kind of romantic.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
And obviously, what we already mentioned, you just start valuing the quality over the quantity of the time that you're spending.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Something I also wanted to address was one of the things I find kind of challenging, and I'm interested to hear how you feel about this, is that, and this is not just friendships, this is, I think, relationships in general, because this also applies to, for example, my family. But when I go home for a while, so to Belgium, that is something that I find really challenging. Is, for example, I go home for, I don't know, a week, right? And then, I start making plans with people, because of course I want to visit people, I want to see people, and then before I know it, I have to visit about 3 people in one day. It's happened that I go home and I just go from one place to another, and then I'm almost so focused on like, oh, okay, oh no, now I need to go there, and tomorrow I need to go there, and it's almost not even fun.
It's not enjoyable
So
because it becomes you
no,
almost feel like you have to tick off boxes, and I know exactly what
and
you
I
mean.
hate that, and I really don't want to. I really
Yeah.
don't want to feel like that. But then there's also a lot of, I don't know. I can feel quite guilty about it sometimes, because it's
Yeah, of
like, well,
course.
first of all, with my family as well, is like, um, and my family is small, thank God. It's about 10 people, but even then, I
That's
kind of feel
small.
like, I would say so. I would say it's
I
small.
mean, yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, then they kind of live spread out a little bit. So that, well, in Flanders everything is very, very close to each other, which can be a good thing, also not such a good thing. I'll get into that later. But yeah, so then it becomes this thing of like, okay, so where am I staying? Am I staying, I don't know, with my mom's side of the family? Am I staying with my dad's side of the family?
Yeah.
Am I then, when do I meet these people? When do I meet them? Then, of course, they all have expectations. They all expect me to visit them. But then when you're there, for example, for a long weekend, then at the end of the day, you're not really doing anything else but literally run from place to place to like
Yeah.
make everyone happy. And you still can't make everyone happy. And that's the thing that I have realized, because the second you post something on your Instagram
Oh, yeah.
story, you will have 10 people in your DMs like, oh, you're in Belgium.
Yeah.
You're in Belgium.
People you
and
forgot to
didn't let me
tell.
know." Yes. And it's like, and it can be difficult. That's also why I very much prefer, if when people visit me, well, of course I love going home, but I also love when people visit me, because then, like I said, they're here, I can actively just spend my time with them.
You don't need to rush. You
Um,
can focus on the time of the people who visit you. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that. And also, I mean, for you, it's even a bit harder because when you go to Belgium, you have family and friends to handle. I think I'm quite lucky in the sense of that some of my friends at this point, some moved back, but are living in Vienna, which is about 7 hours from where my family lives. So I either just go to Vienna and see my friends, or I go to the other side, Vorarlberg, and visit mainly my family. But now a few friends have moved back there, so I can kind of mix that up a little because it's not too many. But that already gives me, when I'm there for a week, like I make the schedule almost a week before I go there, just so I know everyone is somehow satisfied. And then there's still people who I just didn't manage to really book in for long enough. And it sounds so like a business deal, but it almost feels like
It does. It does. I know. It can feel that way, because sometimes I will just book 2 weeks, and then I'm like, oh my god, this is more than enough time. I will have so much time to chill. Then I kind of start talking to the people I definitely want to meet up with, and then before I know it, every single day is just full.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then after those 2 weeks, sometimes I'll be like, oh, okay, so I was staying with, I don't know, this person or that family member, and I didn't really spend much time with them. And so then I don't know, it's, yeah, sometimes it's a little bit tricky. I wanted to say something else and I completely forgot.
Well, maybe it will come back to your mind at some point during this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yes, I know.
Yeah.
I wanted to say what you say about Austria. That sounds like the dream, because in Belgium, there is not one place you can't get to within half an hour. No, I'm exaggerating, but where my family lives, my family all live in, or my family and friends live in, either they live in big cities or they live near big cities, and all of these cities are about a 20-minute train ride away. So there is absolutely no excuse for me to be like, oh, I'm in my hometown now this week, so I can't possibly go there because everything is so fucking small. So
I mean,
yeah,
Austria is quite small, but then I guess is it? Oh, here come for everyone out there. I have the geographical skills of a potato. How big is Belgium? Is it bigger than Austria? I'm going to Google this now.
It's not bigger.
How do you measure this? Just with population? Is it not? If you hear weird noises, I'm moving my keyboard around. This was not fun.
Belgium is a very, very small country.
How many people do live in Belgium?
I want to say, oh my god,
11.59 million.
Exactly.
But
Right,
that's
right.
bigger than Austria. Austria, I think, has only 8 million, and I might have just embarrassed myself. Yeah, Austria has 8.9 million.
Okay, but size
Well, it's just more people then, not more size.
No, you guys just have a lot of nature. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, we have some places where there's, I don't know, still quite a lot of ground left, I guess. Not where I'm from. Literally every fucking square meter is built on. Anyway. Yeah. So, where were we?
But then also, on the other hand, there are some positives, definitely. And you kind of touched upon some of those as well. You realize how much the friendship means to both of you, I think, when you're both putting in the work and when you both just make time for each other and when you both actively try to have each other in your lives. I think that's definitely that's really nice. That's a great feeling. So that's definitely one of the things that I have also learned to appreciate. And then also, this was also one of my positives about moving abroad in general, is that you grow on your own and you grow away from that environment, and maybe you grow kind of, yeah, you get your own space to grow, and that can mean different things for your friendships. It can mean that you start valuing them more and more. It might also mean that you realize that maybe it's healthier to not be close to them, and that is okay as well, because at the end of the day, friendships end just like every kind of relationship, and that's part of life as well. And I really struggled with this when I was younger, and I was always the kind of person who wanted to be like, no, we need to be friends forever. And of course, that's what you want, and that's the dream. But I think sometimes that's just not how life goes, and sometimes you're just growing in different ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mentioned this in the last episode as well, just again about the time it was when I moved. Obviously, 24, I was when I moved, now almost 29. And I feel like friendships would have changed in that time frame anyway, because we were growing up, we were finishing our studies, we were finding the first jobs, we were just creating our own individual lives. You meet new people on the way, like things just change anyway, if you're in a different country or not. That just can make it harder to find time to talk, visit each other, etc. But etc. I don't know why I said that. But yeah, so even like right now, I made some friends at my previous job, and we are 4 adults with full-time jobs. 2 of them are also expats. It is really hard, even though we all live in the same country, to find time to meet each other. It is so hard to
Yes.
coordinate adult lives. So that's just a problem in general. Not just, I mean, the long distance makes it more expensive and a bit harder to plan, but I think a lot of adults just struggle to just find the time.
100%. Yes. That's the kind of stuff that just happens anyway, even if you live in the same town. Exactly. Things happen. You maybe, I don't know, you get married, you have children, you have a household, you have a job, you have so many things to do. And so whether you live apart or not, sometimes it is really tricky. It's really
It
tricky.
is.
Yeah.
So, would you say long distance has an impact on friendships? Does it ruin your friendships?
I would say it has an impact. I don't think it necessarily ruins your friendships. I think it is a challenge when you move abroad. And I think, again, it's not really something you can 100% be prepared for, because me, for example, of course, realistically, rationally, I knew what that would mean. I knew that not being in the same country or in the same city as my friends would mean certain things. It would mean that they would do things without me. It would mean that I would not be the first person to hear about everything anymore. I knew that. Still, we're all humans. We all have emotions. So sometimes I think it's normal that sometimes that gets to you. But then, like we discussed as well, on the flip side, it really makes you value that time together so much more, and it makes you actively take that time to, I don't know, visit each other, meet up, and then just show each other how much that friendship means to you. So I think it changes it in a way. It changes your friendships. But I think the ones that you keep are a lot more valuable. I think.
That is so true. That's a really nice way to
Yeah.
put it. Yeah, I agree. I actually wrote hell yes as an answer, not to that it ruins your friendships, but that it impacts your friendships. And it can also end friendships. It doesn't need to be a fight or anything hurtful. Friendships can just fiddle out, I guess, especially if there's not enough effort put in from both sides. And I do think I lost one or two friendships, but like I said, we didn't fight. We just kind of didn't really continue communication after a while. And I'm sure if I would meet them now, we could have a normal conversation. We would have a drink. We probably would laugh about it. But as of now, we're just not really aware of what's going on in anyone's life.
No, and that's, yeah, sorry, but that exactly, that's something I wanted to say earlier as well, is that the thing with friendships is, I think of friendships as relationships, just like romantic relationships, only platonic relationships, right? But I guess the difference is that with romantic relationships, most of the time you kind of know, like, either, like, you know what's going on. Both of you most of the time know if you're together or not. Let's put it that way. Whereas with friendships, it can get to that vague place where, like, you don't really know if you're still, or you both know that you're not best friends like you used to be, but then also nothing has really happened. Because, yeah, like I said earlier, there's been situations where I took some distance. There's been situations where the other person has ended the friendship or whatever. And that's really painful as well.
A friendship can be a breakup.
Oh, 100%. But it doesn't get the same attention, and it doesn't, and nobody will treat it like that, I think. But it can be just as heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It can be worse, I think, sometimes. But yeah, so then what was I saying?
Well, I just wanted to say that it's like, I just summarized it that way. Some relationships can go the distance, same as romantic ones. Some can manage and some can't, and it's the same with friendships, and that's okay. And I do think,
Yes, and it's not always one person's fault.
No, of
Sometimes
course
it just
not.
doesn't really work anymore. Sometimes you realize that you've become different versions of yourself, and they don't match the way they used to.
Yeah. And on the other hand, though, I think moving abroad can also really give you some surprises. Like, it can show you who really cares about having you in their life. And there were some people where I was like, I was not expecting you to be so interested. Like, not in a romantic way, just like, you're actually putting a lot of effort in. I didn't know we were on that level. So that's really nice.
Ooh,
Like, just
yeah, that's
the
true,
opposite
that's
effect
true.
in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Should we move on to our advice section?
Sure. Yes.
Cool.
Do you have any advice you would like to share?
Yes. So the first thing is just keep telling your friends that you miss them. It's nice to just have the communication, because it kind of keeps that, like, trust is important. You want to trust that even though you haven't heard from your friends in a month, that they still love you and they don't want to just drop you. So I think it's just nice, even when you don't have the energy to have a whole ass conversation right now, you can just send them a little message like, miss you. Or just send them a reel. I mean, we are in that era now. You can just send a reel. Even when I haven't heard from someone and then I get a funny dog reel, that's all. That's all I need. That's fine. I know
That's all
you
you
still have me in your DM list. That's good. And also, it's nice to put in some extra effort, like things you haven't done while you were living in the same town. I started writing physical, like just postcards to them. Not just for birthdays, but just every now and again. Just a nice little message. It can make someone's day. I've received a few postcards myself, and I never expect, like, I never expect them. I just check the mailbox every, I don't know, 2 weeks, and then there's just a nice message. And usually it's a day where I kind of really needed it. So that's a nice surprise.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
I've sent Valentine's Day cards to my
Yes,
friends.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
those things that make it special. And another thing is that I feel like if you have trouble finding time, maybe like what we did, the group of friends I'm in, I think in September decided, or maybe even, yeah, I think it was last September, we decided that this year in July we're going to book out a week and that's just when we're going to see each other and nothing can come in between. So maybe you just have to go to extremes and plan a year in advance, but at least you just have that time that you can look forward to. And if big things happen, but you don't have the time to just send a message, you at least know you can all sit together and talk about it. And yeah, I guess that's, oh no, I have one more. I wrote down to not be afraid of long voice notes.
You don't have to tell me
No,
that.
I know. Oh. Do you have anything?
Kind of similar to what you said as well. I think, yeah, I think sometimes it can get to a place where you both feel like, oh, we haven't spoken in a while, so now we need to, free up our entire evening to then have a 4-hour session on Skype or something to catch each other up on everything. Whereas if you maybe just send,
Who is using Skype
I don't know why I said
Sorry.
that. I'm 30, leave me alone. Anyway, no, so where was I? No, so if you send, I don't know, a short message, exactly, or something or an article that you read that made you think about somebody, and you just send them or something random happens, and you're just like, oh my god, I just saw this on the street or whatever, and it made me think of you. And if you just kind of keep sending each other these things, then you just stay in each other's lives, and you just both are reminded of how much you still mean to each other. And it doesn't have to, and I also think it kind of avoids that anxious feeling of, oh, I haven't replied to their message in 4 weeks, or, oh, I haven't really, I really need to send them something, or I really need to reach out to them. But now I need to, because I 100% relate to this. After a while, it can feel very, it can feel like a task almost, right? Like, oh, now I need to have the energy and actively make time to reach out to them. Whereas if you just kind of spontaneously sometimes keep each other in the loop, then I think it doesn't have to always be that. But also, I really agree with you. Schedule things. Literally just book things. I have book dates with one of my friends. So we both read. We're both trying to, well, actually, no, I still have my reading goal. He kind of gave, he very wisely, I would say, just dropped that whole thing because he felt like it gave him more stress than it was actually worth, which I kind of agree with that, but still, I still want to reach my reading goal. Anyway, we meet up at least once a month, and then we just have a video call, and we just talk for a bit, and then we just read, both of us, and we just have a glass of wine, and we just keep the camera on, and it's very nice, and it's just very
Yes.
cozy. And every time we do that, we also pick a date for the next one, and then of course things happen, and it can be that one of us can't make it, but then we immediately pick a different date. I think leaving it up to being like, oh, let's do that when we
Let's
both
just
have
see.
time. You
Yeah.
won't have time. You will never have time. So
Yeah, I did actually write down as well, take the Zoom FaceTime calls just as serious as meeting someone in person. don't just think it's like a secondary thing.
Yes.
It's like a little piece of
Yes,
advice.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But about those calls, like, I have one friend who I'm on we mainly communicate when we're on the phone. Like you said, there are different types of friendships. Some you just text, some you send voice notes, and some you're on the phone with. And we're on the phone sometimes for like 2-3 hours, but we actually haven't talked for an hour. Like, we're just both cooking, eating. She might be writing her bachelor thesis. Like, there's just we're just on the phone. We have stopped talking. I've been in the bathtub with her on the phone, and we haven't talked even. Like, it's just nice to be connected in some way, I guess.
That is so true. Like you said as well, yes, I have like my best friend, we send each other voice notes all day, every day. I don't think we have ever had a video call. Oh yeah, once when she had a job interview and she needed to check the technical stuff. That's when we did it. The one and only time we ever had a video call. We just send voice notes every day. Then there's people who I never send voice notes with, or rarely, and then we just sometimes we will just have a 4-hour call. So
Yeah.
yes.
I have friends that I've been friends with for 15 years, but if they would call me right now, I would think someone has died,
Oh yeah.
or I would be very nervous of picking up the phone because I just simply wouldn't understand why they are calling me. Because that has never happened.
Yesterday, this
Oh,
is a
yeah.
side note, but yesterday, little background story, but my boyfriend was here. You guys met for the first time. Kind of
Oh, he is so
virtually.
cute.
And so he went for a walk, and I put, well, out of habit, I put the latch on the door, and then he of course couldn't come in because he had the keys, but yeah, the chain was on the door. So he tried to message me, but I of course wasn't replying because we were recording our episode. And then he he was like, he said that at some point he was like, okay, I've been here for 10 minutes now, I will have to call her. I will, like, there's no way I can enter this flat. I will have to call her. And he actually felt weird about it because we have never had a phone call. And I was just sitting here, and all of a sudden I saw that he was calling me, and like you said, I was like, what on earth
God.
is happening? Why am I getting a phone call from this person? I am not a
Exactly.
phone call kind of person.
No, I think there's like two people I have phone calls with, but they are planned. One of those friends, sometimes we just call each other to see if we have time, because we both like to go on long walks, so that's just spontaneous. But everyone else who calls me spontaneously, I'm like, you could have sent me a message. Why are you calling me?
Do not call me spontaneously. Do not. Do not.
No. You sometimes press the wrong button, I think, in WhatsApp, and then I had a missed call from
I
you, and I was
know,
like,
that
why is
happens
Gladys calling
sometimes.
me? This must have
I
been a
know.
mistake.
There's
Oh,
a
God.
there's a
Oh,
couple
well.
of people who, when they call me, I will pick up. Most of the time, I'm literally looking at the screen, waiting for the call to end. Like, just
I
being
know, and then
honest.
you just wait that 1 hour, and you text them, sorry, I just saw you call me.
Everyone does it. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
God.
Everyone does it.
Yeah. Oh, well. Okay, so, and on this note, we want to introduce a little section of the podcast, which is just a minute or two, because Gladys, as she mentioned, she's a little book nerd, book geek, and I love my movies and TV shows. So we thought at each episode, at the end, we like to give some recommendations related to the topic we have talked about. Should I start with mine?
Yes, please.
Okay, so while I was writing the notes for this episode, the film, and I haven't watched this in ages, it was a real throwback, but I just had to think of the movie The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. It's a movie. Well, it was a book first, I think, but I didn't read at that age. So I could read, I just didn't like it. So yeah, I don't know if you know the movie, but it's about these 4 16-year-old girls. They've always lived together. They've always been, well, not together, but in the same area. They've always been best friends since birth, basically. They all were born around the same time. I think that's how the movie starts. And then they're 16, and there is a summer, and everyone does something different. One goes to a football camp, I think. The other one goes to live with her dad. One of them goes to Greece because her parents are from Greece. and the other one just stays in the town, and each have their own thing. Like, they all have their own thing going on, but the one thing that connects them is this pair of pants that at the beginning of the movie, spoiler, they buy. And while they're in the shop, they realize they all have quite different bodies, and they realize that the pants fit them all. So they decided to buy this pair of pants and then send it around with a letter. And I just had to think about this film. I'm not sure if it has a nice ending though, because I almost feel like they're not that good of friends in the end. Anyway, the friendship goes through changes.
It's Blake Lively and America Ferrera are in it, right? I think so.
Yes, and Rory from Gilmore
Yes.
Girls. Yes, they're all quite well known now, but it's a cute movie. It's a throwback. I might actually watch it sooner than later, but it's just what came to my mind.
I think I might have that book, but I've never read it. Maybe now I kind of want to.
Of course.
Not unlike most of my books. Now I kind of want to read it.
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Well, and I have 2 books because when I think about friendship, there is one book I read, and you know how these like the endorsements on the cover, on the inside of the book, sometimes say things like, "This is a punch in the gut, and this will change your life, and this will blah blah blah," and then usually you're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, this is very dramatic," and I actually didn't really feel that way. This book did something to me. My favorite book probably that I've ever read on friendship is called Reunion by Fred Ullman. It's very short. It's only 100 and a couple pages.
Oh my god, sorry. Is it
Yes,
the one
you read it.
that you
Yes,
recommended
read
to
it.
me? Oh, it's such a good book.
So it's about it's 2 children. They meet, they become friends, and it just describes friendship and platonic love in the most innocent, in just the sweetest, most innocent, tender way. It is so beautiful. It's set in Germany during the rise of the Nazis, and then you kind of, well, no spoilers, but you find out that one family, one boy is Jewish, his parents are Jewish, one boy, his parents are Nazis, and their children, so obviously they both don't think that their parents are bad people, and so then you kind of see how that impacts this very innocent friendship. And that ending,
Yeah.
that last page, I could not, and I mean, it's not rare for me to cry. I cry all the time. Okay, I can't watch anything or read anything without crying. But this book, for days, I couldn't think about that last page without crying. It is.
Oh, yeah, I remember. You convinced me to read it.
It's heartbreaking. It's so good. And then a bit of a lighter read, and I know that we've also both read this. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton.
Oh, yes. Love me some Dolly.
Yeah, we love Dolly. So it's her memoir, everything that she learned about friendship. Well, it's not just friendships, is it? It's love, work, basically
Dating, everything.
yes, everything. And so she talks about her life, the things that happened to her, but throughout the book, the main theme is her relationships with her girlfriends. And I just love that because I think that's not, we don't have enough books or movies or TV shows that focus on platonic love.
Yes,
So
agreed.
100% that would also be my recommendation.
And for those who don't like reading, they actually made a series out of that book.
Oh yeah.
Yes, so you can watch that. It's called, like the book, Everything I Know About Love.
yeah.
And yeah, on this note, I think that was episode 2.
Yes. If you're still here, thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for musing with us. I will say this every time now because I love it. Again, if you have anything you want to share with us, if you have any stories about your friendships related to moving abroad or not, feel free to message us on our Instagram. We will put the Instagram account in our show notes, but the name is We Are Millennial Musings, all written in one line, no gaps, no underscores, nothing. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. And
We'll be back next week.
exactly. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.